What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. Day after Italy are eliminated by Switzerland in Euro 2024. Just Mike and I here. Antonio had the smart idea. He headed off to Italy.
Antonio left the country.
He's smart.
And he said he's going to find the squad himself.
Yeah, he said hopefully he's got to transfer through Rome, and hopefully Spalletti was there. And he said some stuff that we can't say on the podcast. We wanted to take a couple minutes, first of all, to talk about the game. Now that the emotions have settled down, there's a lot of talk about Luciano Spalletti, if he should have been sacked. Gravina, the head of FIGC, today confirmed that he is not going anywhere. And Spalletti had a couple of choice words that I think we'll break down and talk about. Before we get into that, make sure you like, subscribe. Let us know if you like this setup. Everybody told us that we should keep this for the podcast. This was our streaming setup for the match, and everybody said that they like this a little bit better.
It's a little different.
Kind of like it. Chill vibe.
Yeah.
And starting off as well, San Benedetto, they sponsored our live stream. They are sponsoring this post-match podcast. The only thing that got us through yesterday was being fueled by San Benedetto. They also share the same importer as Nonino. They have great Amaro, great Grappa, Nino Franco Prosecco.
I drank like 4 of these yesterday, by the way.
I know. Well, I drank a lot of the alcohol at night. I'm not going to lie.
I had to drive you home, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Anyway, Mike, how are you feeling now that the emotions have settled down a little bit? Obviously, total domination from Switzerland, but where do you think the blame lies?
I mean, I was a little fiery yesterday just because of how they played, so my emotions definitely cooled down. But overall, I think the picture is still the same in terms of Italy didn't really show face at all. I don't think they came out to play. I didn't think they had any tactics. I think Spalletti was outcoached entirely. He didn't make the right substitutions, and he made them too late. And I just thought it was a disaster all around. You're playing in the knockout rounds, and you come out with that kind of performance against Switzerland, who a lot of people knew how good they were, especially watching their group stage games. Probably should have beat Germany too, but they were unfortunate because conceded last minute. But we knew how well Switzerland are, and a lot of these players, a lot of their starters, play in Serie A too, so there really isn't any excuse. It looked like Spalletti it seems like he didn't really do his homework on them, and it looks like he didn't do his homework on Italy, because just a showing of the starting lineup, not just from that game, but all the games that he's coached, he did not impress me at all, honestly.
We played one half of good football against Albania, period. And we always looked worse in the second half. The first half against Albania, yeah, we conceded early, but then we started to play football. We started to abide by the philosophies of Spalletti. Second half, we reverted back to our old ways, and if not for Donnarumma absolutely saving us, it would have been game over, and we would have tied that first game. Against Spain, it was the scoreline did not do the game justice. We were totally outplayed by Spain. It should have been 2-3, 4-0 by them without exaggerating.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the third game against Croatia, we had a scared approach. We tried to play for the tie. It nearly screwed us over because Croatia got a penalty, and then we only woke up after conceding a goal. Yeah. So it was not a surprise to me that they lost to Switzerland. I said Switzerland were going to win. I just never expected to be completely dominated in that way. And when you watch Switzerland play, the way that they pressed, the way that they played as a unit, I see everybody breaking them apart individually, comparing position by position and saying Italy are better, but it's about playing as a team. These international tournaments are about putting a group together. That's how you're able to win in these tournaments. Mike is watching Slovakia against England.
Slovakia right now. Slovakia almost tied it up, but regardless.
Mike is pissing me off because he thinks that Slovakia is going to win. I keep telling him England is always going to come back.
But regardless, going back to Italy, for the people that don't know, because a lot of people still didn't know, if Zaccagni didn't, and England are next to the next round.
Of course.
And for the people that don't know, if Zaccagni didn't score that goal to equalize, it would have been official that Italy would have been knocked out already, because they would have been, they wouldn't have enough goal difference to go through. So it just goes to show Spalletti was kind of hoping for individual brilliance from players rather than having a game of tactics, a team that actually play with one another, open up and do something, which when you're hoping for that, it's never good news. It really isn't.
We'll get to Spalletti in a second, but I'm very disappointed in the players too, because there's going to be a lot to be said about Luciano, and we'll break that down. But also, I saw zero attitude from any of the players. I saw zero reaction. That second half, The second half was an embarrassment. Nobody fighting for the shirt. I've witnessed a lot of bad Italy teams. I was there live when we lost to North Macedonia and didn't qualify for the World Cup.
Yeah.
The games against Slovakia. The group stage in the 2010 World Cup was an awful moment. Yesterday was genuinely, it might be the worst I've ever seen Italy play. For the position that we were in, for the side of the bracket that we were in, I don't know why, but there was something so lifeless about that performance that it'll stand out for me forever. And that is on the players. Now, if we go to Luciano Spalletti, Spalletti made a disaster of this tournament. It was so overthought. It was overcoached because it was almost like he thought this was a club competition, that he was trying to fit different players in positions that they've never played before. He talked so much before the tournament about how great Inter is, and we need to build on the Inter backline. We got rid of the 3-5-2. Every single match we played a different formation. Even in the last game, Stefan El Shaarawy plays as the left winger. When Zaccagni came in against Spain, did well, scores the goal that gets us qualified for the next round, and then he doesn't get the start. There was no building off of any momentum.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. It was definitely a big shot. You got to build it off the players that are hot, right? It's the selection of the best players. And at the time, Zaccagni scored that. He was feeling top of the world. And then you're just going to bench him and play El Shaarawy out of nowhere, who gets his first start. Nothing against El Shaarawy. I actually liked him, but more of coming off as a sub.
And then I think he really made a mess with the Di Lorenzo situation.
Oh, my God.
We sat here on the podcast before.
Even Di Lorenzo admitted that he probably wouldn't have started if it wasn't a different coach.
He said,
or even if your player says it.
He said he's like a son.
I don't even blame Di Lorenzo. What are you going to say? No?
But I do blame Di Lorenzo for the way that he played.
No, but it's not like he did it purposely. You know what I'm saying?
Nobody does it purposely.
I get it, but I'm just saying.
He was awful.
I get it, but I'm just saying, as a coach, you're supposed to see that on the first 20 minutes and be like, maybe I should make an adjustment.
Spalletti let his bias get ahead of his selection. And this happens. Every coach has guys in their mind that they want to play. And I get that. And in the beginning, we said it on the podcast. I said, I don't see how he could play Di Lorenzo. I thought I even went a little bit too hard because I kept getting messages from people. And then I said, but you know what? It makes sense. He knows him better than we do. Maybe there's something in training. He plays him in the first game. But then when he was not able to sub him out against Spain, that was where he let his bias get to him. He got torched. And I had people saying, oh, Nico Williams is amazing. They made Nico Williams seem like he was Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi combined. Yeah, he's a good player, but not to look that bad. And Di Lorenzo was not able to do a thing. So that was another factor that Spalletti got wrong. And when you coach a national team, the best national team coaches, they just select the best players and they put them in the best position to succeed.
Yeah.
Maybe you have in your head that I've won with a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1 or this player, that player. That's not what the national team comes down to. You don't have a lot of time to teach these players your exact philosophies. You select who's ever in best form. You select
the best formation. Yeah.
How many players were out of position?
Yeah, exactly.
Buongiorno didn't see the field.
But he said he's going to pick with the Inter's formation in terms of, because there's the most Inter player.
I wonder if Acerbi getting hurt stopped him from doing
that was definitely a big part of it.
3-5-2
but I also wanted to mention, having Di Lorenzo there doesn't just stop that position. It stops Chiesa's position because he knows he has to track back for Di Lorenzo. I don't know if you noticed, but Chiesa was pretty deep because he knew that he had to have defensive responsibilities. You understand? So he couldn't stay as free. I'm not saying that's a reason why he played so poorly, because Chiesa did play poorly at the end of the day. But he also knew he had defensive responsibility to back up for Di Lorenzo as he did for Spain. He was always, I don't know, they were literally a few yards away from each other because he had to act as another right back for Di Lorenzo's lack of defending ability.
There's only 3 players that I say from this tournament. Gigio Donnarumma, without a shadow of a doubt.
He's the MVP for Italy this whole tournament.
I cannot believe that people think that Vicario was something. Come on. Donnarumma has always been for the Italian national team. He's always been solid.
He has
only improved.
Yeah.
Calafiori, who was a breakout star.
Definitely a bright player.
Easy. We lost him. It was terrible to have lost him with the yellow cards in this game. And then I'm putting Bastoni in there because I think Bastoni had a lot to deal with. Constantly changing the back line, not playing in his right formation. He switched to a back 4. He helped score one of our goals. Not saying that he was perfect because he was out of position on some of the goals, but he's one of the 3 that I'll isolate.
He definitely brought more calmness in the defense.
But I was scared coming into this tournament, there were two things that I was scared of. I was scared of our lack of leadership, our lack of not having a Chiellini, a Bonucci like we had in the past tournaments on the field who could transmit this feeling, this winning mentality. We don't have that from any of our guys who have an understanding of winning. And then the second thing was our midfield. Our midfield was the worst I have seen it look in a long time. Last tournament, we were not the best team on paper, but at least with our midfield, we were able to always be within matches. We were alive. We created opportunities for our strikers, even though we didn't have great goal scoring ability. That was completely lost in this tournament, and that's something that we have a big thing to fix.
And I don't know if you remember, but the podcast we did prior to the Euro starting, we said we all agreed on the midfield not obviously being as good as the one that won the Euros. You know, it's common sense. But we said the only thing that would really help this midfield is having someone that's going to have a breakout season, like a striker, like a Retegui or Scamacca, that's just going to be getting goals from nowhere. And from what we've seen from both of them, I think they mustered, one shot?
One worse than the other.
Between the two of them?
I think two. I think it was two on target in the end. One worse than the other. Yes, they were not given.
Yeah, they weren't given the ball,
service. But even Scamacca in that last game, I will be haunted by the way that he did not want to run. His hold-up play. I mean, the amount of times that I watched him pass the ball directly to a Swiss player, he looks like he doesn't even care out there. And for a player with so much talent,
but he wasn't running either.
Nothing.
But that's what Gasperini brought up when he wasn't starting in the beginning. But then he changed his mind when he actually when he did start running. And Gasperini played him. So I can see the parts where what Gasperini said. And there's been a lot of talk on these Atalanta players only performing for Atalanta. Gasperini has a good system. But I don't want to just put on Scamacca. Someone that we expected to have a better tournament than they did. I thought Chiesa was going to step up. And honestly, he was a ghost.
He didn't.
And I'm very disappointed because I thought he was going to do something. He gave zero.
There's some truth. No, in the first game, he gave a little bit. He was the only one that I would say he did well. He tried to isolate. He tried to find his guy 1v1. He also had to, like you said, playing in wrong positions a couple of times, having to track back in defense. He was just so isolated, and he was the only one that was trying to beat 3, 4, 5 guys, which was never going to be able to happen. He hasn't been the same since his injury, that's for sure.
But the lack of vertical balls from the midfield.
Everybody.
To be honest, the first couple games, there were runs from the winning games.
First couple games.
What do you mean?
First 45 minutes of the first game, maybe.
But there were some instances.
Spain, no.
There were some, maybe not Spain, but there were some runs.
Fratesi was awful.
And they weren't being sent.
No, nothing.
It seemed like they were scared.
At least Fagioli tried to yesterday.
Yeah, Fratesi gave 2 or 3. I give him. What I
Fagioli.
Say?
You said Fratesi.
Fagioli.
No,
my
Fratesi
bad.
did nothing.
Fagioli helped in the offense, but defensively, he was at fault for the first goal. Mm-hmm. He gave up the goal, and the second one he saw his man coming in and he left him open, and they scored the second goal.
Isn't it funny that Inzaghi never played once Barella and Fratesi together, and it's clear that
Spalletti.
There was no.
What'd you say?
Oh,
you're saying
Inzaghi never played once. Right. Fratesi and Barella together. And there's clearly a reason why. And Spalletti was not able to figure that out. I mean, he figured it out in the last game. The amount of changes were crazy. And it leads us to talk about Spalletti and the sacking. Obviously,
Can I just say something really quick? Spalletti has a whole team to help him out. What do they talk about?
At the end of the day, he's the one that decides.
I get it. But what do you think do you think they're just yes men and be like, yeah, it's good? What happened?
No, but at the end of the day, he's the one that decides.
Do you think they said, I don't think Di Lorenzo should start this game? Like, do they not care for you know what I'm saying?
No, I'm sure there's somebody there, but he has his reasons, and at the end of the day, he's the one that's going to get the blame. Nobody knows the names of the assistant coaches, so he has to make the decision that he has to live with. And I feel like there's two sides to this story, because let's talk about Spalletti being sacked. He's not going to be sacked. He's going to continue on as the coach. He's been in charge for 14 games. That's part of what he said after the match. He said all of these coaches that are in the tournament have coached way more, which is true. And I think his type of football needs a lot more time to develop, which is what we had to talk about in the beginning when we had an argument. Do you get Antonio Conte, who has an immediate impact, or Luciano Spalletti, who's a little bit more long-term? Now, that can't be used as an excuse, because the player selections and playing guys out of position should not take long to understand. Di Lorenzo, we understood in one game that he was not the defender to play with.
First 20 minutes.
On the flip side, though, I don't think, and I know this is not a popular decision, a popular opinion. I do not think sacking Luciano Spalletti fixes Italy's problem. We have a lot of problems.
Yeah.
The lack of quality in the team, which was evident from the start of the tournament. I felt terrible going into this tournament. When I looked at the roster, I saw that there were limits. Now, does that mean that we can't do better? We couldn't challenge against Switzerland? We couldn't have gotten better results? No. But at the same time, does sacking Spalletti and the only guys out there, because don't talk to me about Ancelotti. Ancelotti's never going to take the Italian national team. Antonio Conte has a job. Inzaghi has a job. The only options out there, according to the Italian media, is Sarri, Allegri, and Pioli. Those are not forward moves for the Italian national team. At least let's build with somebody he does have right ideas. He made a lot of mistakes. I hope he learns from the mistakes. I hope he puts his personal bias aside. I hope he builds up a lot of the youngsters, because we do have young players in this roster. I don't think sacking Spalletti is the answer.
I agree with you for the most part.
You were very sack Spalletti yesterday.
I was very adamant on Spalletti, but then if you do see the forward thing in terms of the lack of options, who are you going to bring in? But I also thought about, would Allegri be that bad in terms of if he try? What's
Allegri is not the solution for the Italian national team.
But okay, maybe he's not the solution. But I do think
Another
Allegri,
guy that chooses his own.
But
players.
I think Allegri, even him, would have had more forward thinking in the football, and I think he would have realized what he had to do. And I think Allegri's a better tournament coach than Spalletti is.
I would keep. Well, we're not in a tournament
you agree
now.
With that?
We're not in a tournament.
Just saying. Would you agree with that part at least?
No,
you don't think Allegri's a better tournament play?
I don't think so. No.
I think his style fits Italy more.
I think we're gonna. I think we're gonna go backwards for the way that I'm watching teams play in the Euros. For the development of players. I'm very annoyed. I'm very annoyed
based on this tournament.
I'm very annoyed. No, but you can't just look at this tournament. For me, you can't just look at this tournament. It's not. I know Caressa said that he's never seen an Italian national team coach keep his job after doing a tournament like this. But it also doesn't tell the full story. I want to give Spalletti a little bit of a benefit of the doubt. When he took over the Italian national team, it was not a good situation from Mancini.
Yeah.
Mancini ran off to Saudi Arabia. We had 2 games to qualify where we had to play Ukraine and North Macedonia, if I'm not mistaken. And he had to just get his job done.
Right.
And then we came to the United States. We never had a lot of time to build. Again, not saying that he didn't make mistakes that didn't need time. But I do feel like sacking him is not the right answer. That's me.
Well, only based on the lack of options. But based on his performance?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
Because I do think Spalletti has the right ideas. He wants to play good football. We didn't show it, but I think we can develop into that.
Let's just forget about it being football or whatever. Just based on the performance-wise, you don't think it's a sackable offense?
Okay, so yes, absolutely. Okay. But what I'm saying is that you have to take a broader picture.
I get
of
it.
everything.
No, I agree with you on that.
When you take everything into perspective.
But I'm saying solely based on that, I think it is.
When I look at the players that we have, again, not saying that we shouldn't have done better.
Conte gave miracles.
Different kinds of coaches.
Eder Pelé, bro. Who are these players that he brought?
Different kind of coaches.
I know, I get it.
I know.
But at the end of the day, too, there
was an argument for Conte.
When you're coaching a national team in a small tournament like this with not a lot of time, you do need a motivator, right?
I agree.
You do need,
and this is his first time.
Hire a motivator,
This
bro.
is his first time in an international tournament, and I really hope he learns, because there are question marks if can he be a national team coach or is he a club coach?
It really is 2 different jobs. A club coach and an international coach is 2 different jobs. You don't see the players the same amount of time. You have month breaks in between. You don't have time to build an actual formation like that you do for club level. That's just the facts of it.
It was almost like he thought that he was doing club football, where you could just, all right, I have my idea, I have exactly what I want to do, and I'm gonna make this piece work, even though I don't have it, and I can't go and sign it because I'm not a club coach.
Exactly.
But we're gonna make it work either way. Darmian is a left back. I mean, were we watching the same game? These are my concerns that I have. But again, I'll repeat one last time.
How could we see it and a group of coaches that observe and get paid for this? Like, I would love to know what they talk about. Because if Spalletti's really that ignorant to go against his colleagues,
that's a scary part,
that are telling him, Spalletti, this is suicide what we're doing.
That's a scary part.
We're going to pull Di Lorenzo here. We're getting killed. Everyone's coming from there. Spain, every attack came from there.
And it's not like we didn't have a no solution.
Still plays him. Di Lorenzo, the actual player, said, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be playing. Like, what else do you want?
Yeah, I know.
Like, isn't that laughable?
Yep.
But how is that a thing? That's what I just find that hilarious. That it still I don't know, man. But it's true. If there was, the only reason why he's still there is because there's not a better option. And I don't know if that's a positive thing
lack of time
for the Fiji Chiefs. That's more like, that's embarrassing.
Gravina,
than anything.
Gravina's still having
really
a job
bad.
after all of this.
It's poor.
Is scary, but that's the situation. That's the way it is. Let us know in the comments if you agree, if you disagree. It feels like a real opportunity lost again, especially looking at the side of the bracket. There are very good teams. There are teams that play more compact. They play as units, and that's the key thing. We did not play as a team. We deservedly went out, and that's why I felt numb in the second half. I was numb. I wasn't even mad anymore.
Yeah, it felt like it was over.
We deserved to go out.
Pathetic.
It was pathetic.
Because it was pathetic. It's not like, oh, we're so close, almost by whatever. And I also wanted to add before we finish off, what do you think about players or people talk, like for instance, Politano posted an emoji of him doing shoulders.
I think it doesn't help.
You put the country
It doesn't
ahead.
help anybody.
Like maybe you could do that for club.
But it's Politano. It's like I'm not really.
Also, Balotelli's brother also said the only person he made a slide. The only person that I would have this back, and he had Donnarumma, and the person that should have been called up, and it showed Balotelli.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Nah, I mean, how are you gonna call up Balotelli? How are you gonna call up Balotelli?
Would it be that crazy?
You would have had to do it in a training when they went to America and see how he is. But I mean, come on.
But not even to be on the field. But have him in the be in the locker room. Because Balotelli, believe it or not, you don't think he has a winner's mentality.
I feel like we keep looking for these solutions. Like we kept begging on a number 9.
Runcho didn't get a minute.
Where we have a lot bigger problems than just one player. We did not play as a team. And when Switzerland pressed us, we had no identity to build out of the back. That is the complete opposite of how we looked 3 years ago, where we were fine building out of the back because we had a midfield that had life. We had a midfield that was calm on the ball. It looked like hot potato with the way that we were playing. So that's the situation.
And Buffon afterwards, man, seeing him, like,
what are you gonna do?
What
are you gonna do?
It was just embarrassing.
Let us know in the comments what you would do with Spalletti.
And the press conferences. The press conferences from Spalletti, he made it seem like he had a five-star team. But then you go on the field, these guys can't even string 3 passes.
Luciano, I said I want you to stay. But the one contingency is enough with the talking about good football, enough with the philosophy, enough telling me what we are going to do, and just show it on the field. Nobody likes a guy that talks and doesn't back it up.
I would have gave him more respect if he said, to be honest, I'm nervous for that game. Because at least it matched.
You can't say that. You can't say that to a nation.
But I'm saying, at least it would have matched the performance.
But you can't.
Because the way he talks in the press conference and the way he put out the players after seeing them.
Stop looking for excuses.
It just doesn't make sense. He just looks foolish.
Let us know what you guys think. San Benedetto, thank you so much for sponsoring this podcast and sponsoring the live stream. Unfortunately, it didn't go better.
The only positive to the Euro campaign.
At least we're hydrated.
Very hydrated.
You know my shirt, I didn't sweat at all yesterday. Usually I sweat during Italy games. I didn't sweat once.
You were sweating from your eyes only, right?
That was tears.
Tears.
That's it. Guys, let us know. Make sure you like, subscribe, and we'll be back soon. Ciao ragazzi.
Hey guys.